Why Not? A queer podcast.
Thank you to our sponsor, Pineapple Healthcare, an award-winning primary care clinic right here in Orlando.
Pineapple Healthcare offers mental health counseling, HIV, STI testing and treatment, and specializes in care for the LGBTQ plus community.
Open Monday through Saturday. Call today at 407-553-6336 and schedule your appointment.
Pineapple Healthcare. Better together.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Todd.
And I'm Jeremy Williams, and you're listening to Wine.
Why Not? A queer podcast.
Episode 85. Look at that. Halfway through the decade of indulgence.
Is that what it was?
I feel like it was.
Do you know that in 1985, the greatest trilogy in movie history started?
Back to the Future?
Yes.
Yeah. I did know that.
That's my fact. That's it. 19. That's all that matters about 85.
85 is also, do you remember Live Aid?
Yes.
Live Aid was 1985. Yeah.
I was gonna say this would it sound weird for me to say that the 80s had a lot of aid in them.
It sure did.
Farm Aid. You don't need to write that down. That's not going to be the title of the show. Farm Aid, Live Aid,
Band-Aid, Comic Relief Aid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comic Relief Aid was a cool thing.
That went on for many years. That was a big deal in my family.
Yeah.
Like, I remember because it was on HBO, and then every year it would happen. It was like 2 days or 3 days or something, and it was like overnight. It was like the Jerry Lewis telethon.
That was a big thing in my family.
That was that too. Yeah, and you would just put it on and it'd stay on. It was like a big event.
Yeah.
Not today.
I saw somebody on Facebook recently said that they were Googling it and looking it up because people had been talking about it.
The Jerry Lewis telethon? Yeah. Oh. Maybe they're bringing it back. Maybe they'll give Ryan Seacrest that too.
Got a little Ryan Seacrest burnout going on over there.
Oh my God. Does he have to be on everything?
There's a guy named Ryan that does the morning show kind of thing on Hits One on Sirius XM Radio, and I have for all this time thought it was Ryan Seacrest, but I don't think it is.
Oh, I mean, he's on like 9 different radio shows, and he hosts like a dozen other shows, and he does New Year's Eve. He took over for Dick Clark, Pat Sajak, Jerry Lewis.
Did he
I'm sure.
Fired from? Didn't he get hired to be Kelly Ripa's co-host?
He was Kelly Ripa's thing for a while, but he didn't get fired. I think what happened was he got burnt out because he was just doing too much. He's like, listen, I can't do another morning thing. Plus, she really wanted her husband to be her co-host.
Yeah. Well, I mean, wouldn't you if that was your husband?
I mean, sure. But,
Yeah, sit next to me, honey, all day. Well he's a good-looking man. That's all I'm saying.
He's not bad looking. It's all right. It's fine.
All right.
I mean, he has to put up with Kelly Ripa all the time. So he's a saint.
Not a
fan of Kelly Ripa.
Have you had some
I don't know
Kelly
if you
Ripa
can tell.
burnout too?
I don't really care for Kelly Ripa. She gives me fake vibes. Like, she seems phony. Everything she says and does in life, fake.
See, I don't
Allegedly.
know
That's
too
how
much
I
about
feel.
it, but I give her a pass because in my mind, and I know no facts about this whatsoever, so don't yell at me. In my mind, they didn't tell her that Michael Strahan was leaving the show, and it threw her for a loop. And they were like, why wouldn't you tell me? And why didn't I have some say in what happens next? And so she took off. She took a week off or something like that. I think it was a lot like, or am I getting this confused with the morning show on Apple TV?
Maybe. Because from what I don't
I
work
think
for the
there
show.
was drama.
But there was. He left because she was a tyrant. And he got a better offer for Good Morning America. And he's like, listen, I can't do this with this woman anymore.
He's like, listen, I can't.
And she was
I can't do this
after
show
Regis
anymore with
left,
Kelly Ripa.
She was like, this is my show now, boys. Don't fuck around with me. And they were like, yeah, I'm done. I'm out.
Do you miss Regis and Kathy Lee?
No. I didn't care for Regis and Kathy Lee.
Oh, really?
The show or the people.
Oh, yeah, Regis is a cool guy.
I'll be honest. I know
Regis
you
was really
knew
cool.
him personally, but I find most, not all, most people who are on daytime television to be pretentious and uppity. I don't care for it.
Do you think that Kathy Lee Gifford, do you think that her persona on the show was an act? Or do you think she's really just like a aloof wine drinker all day long? They just
I don't know. How many years is it an act before it's just your personality?
yeah.
Yeah.
How about that husband?
Didn't he die?
Her husband?
Kathy Lee Gifford? Yeah. Frank Gifford died.
I'm talking about before he died.
I
That
mean,
big
he was.
scandal?
I don't. There's a lot of information that I've dumped because I'm 45 and too much shit has happened in the last decade.
What are you, a Subway commercial? Wait, what's that commercial where people do this now they can't sit in a chair properly because they put information in their head? It was a big Super Bowl thing. It's like
I
you
don't
can
know.
only remember.
That's on the list.
I snorted. That was funny.
I also feel a sickness. I feel sickness coming on, so my head is all foggy, and facts are,
Ooh,
are
you
all
should
over
take
the
cold
place.
medicine and drink that wine. Things I used to do. It was cold medicine and beer.
Yeah,
They go well together. So does chocolate and beer. I found that out one Halloween. I was very surprised.
interesting. So yeah, 1985.
What was the
Super
thing-
Mario Brothers is also released that year. I just want to
Oh,
throw
was
that
it?
out there. Yeah,
That's a
it's a
good
good
one.
year. It was a good year.
What was the thing Caitlin was talking about? Some
What
song?
do you mean?
Before we started, she's like, "Hey, I don't want to steal this from
It's
you
a
guys."
song called 1985.
Oh,
It didn't come out in 1985, and I'm not even sure it's about 1985. It's about the 80s in general. They just call it 1985.
well, that sounds stupid.
It's about a person
person
in
called
1985.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry to have bored everybody with that. Hey, can we give a shout out to somebody, to a group
Sure.
of people? I just want to give a shout out. I don't know if we brought this up before, but we were recently looking at some stats of.
By the way, Debbie. That's who 1985 is about.
It's about that. Who
Debbie
sings it?
just hit a wall. She never had it all. One Prozac a day. Husband's a CPA. That's how it starts.
Was there? Yeah.
Anyway.
I guess Prozac was a thing
Who
in
we-
'85.
I mean, it had to have been.
Who
Maybe.
Who
knows?
Who sings this song?
Bowling for Soup. Who were we
Okay.
giving a shout out to?
I don't want to talk about the soup people anymore. No soup for you. To people in Buffalo. That is where our podcast is listened to the most.
Yeah.
So hey, if you're in Buffalo, New York, shout out. We
I
love your wings.
Oh, yeah.
Good job.
Definitely. Love your wings.
Look at that. We agreed on something.
Yeah.
Every time I give a speech somewhere, I tell people that you and I disagree on everything on this show, and then we just
We just agreed.
in stereo.
Yeah.
Look at that. Write it down. Timestamp.
Somebody
7
before the
minutes,
November
23
election,
seconds.
Buffalo wings bring people together. That's the key.
What we should have called it? We should have called this wine buffalo wings, and I eat buffalo wings while you drink wine. That would be great for everybody.
Oh,
Ugh.
Yeah.
Remember that day we had? Was it Halloween? We had candy in here. We're both eating
yeah,
it. while
chomping in the
recording.
microphone. Don't go back and listen
We're
to that
so
episode.
obnoxious.
Terrible.
Oh, I did figure out our most listened to podcast came
Yes.
out in early March, right after the Wave Awards. So I'm going to say that little boost was from probably winning the Wave
Oh.
Award. So thank you to the voters
Yeah.
of Watermark.
I
Wave
hear we
Awards.
had a lot of people in Buffalo voting our Wave Awards this year.
That, and it's not Sri Lanka. It's the other. I can't remember
It's
now.
the other street.
Singapore.
Singapore.
We have a lot of listeners in Singapore.
All right.
So shout out.
Well, to the people of Singapore.
I credit
I don't know
you
what they're for.
in your article about.
Oh, that's right. I
Red,
do
White,
have a
and
fan
Royal
base
Blue.
over there. For those listening in Singapore, there's a sequel in
See?
the works.
I have Regis. You have Singapore.
Yeah. And Vietnam.
That's
I
why
don't want
this-
to leave out my people in Vietnam out either. It was Singapore and Vietnam.
That's why this works out so well.
Yeah. We cover all our bases in the Singapore, Vietnam, and Regis Philbin categories.
I watched this movie over the week called Rebel Ridge, something like that. Anyway, it's like I just look for movies that are about former military people who are trying to just live a normal life in civilian society.
Is that your jam?
And there's some wrong that's happened, and they go and try to vigilante style
Sure.
fix it. And so this guy is doing this against this police company. Actually, Don Johnson's in this movie, which is crazy because I haven't seen him in anything in a long time. So anyway, the guy ends up getting shot by the police, and he goes to his friend who runs this Asian restaurant, and and he's like fixing him up, and this girl that's helping him was there, and the star of the show introduces her to the owner of this restaurant who's fixing him up and says, I met him in the Korean War. And she says, thank you for your service. And everybody goes quiet. And he goes, he's Chinese. He worked for the other side. Which is a strange moment.
Interesting. What movie? When did this movie come out?
It's recent.
Oh.
Yeah. It's actually really good. And I think you'd like the star of it. He's got, there's
Don Johnson?
No, he's not. He's the sheriff, but like the star of the show. I didn't even look up the guy's name, but he's got those eyes that are color. His eyes have a color to them.
I do love people who have color in their eyes.
That is just that you can't help but stare. Remember the hot guy who got a mugshot? The mugshot hot guy.
Oh,
who
yeah.
had those eyes.
You mean the criminal?
Yeah, he had those eyes. Like this guy's got eyes like
he did have those
just
eyes.
Intense. They're like light brown, but they're like this like amber kind of light brown, I think. And you just get mesmerized staring at him.
Interesting. And you said this was a recent movie?
I think so.
Was it called The Collective?
No, it's called Rebel Ridge.
Rebel
Bridge.
Rebel Ridge. Oh, here we go.
Is it Rebel Ridge?
Oh, it is new. It came out this year. On Netflix. I don't have Netflix. That's why I didn't know it was out.
Do you see what I'm talking about, though?
Aaron Pierre?
It's a good movie. I think it's got the girl that's in The Fault in Our Stars, too. But I could be wrong about her. The girl, and she's got like an alien-shaped head.
Oh, James Cromwell's in it. I love him.
Yeah, it's surprising. Like, he's this, like, Academy Award-winning actor that shows up in this, like odd action movie.
There's this collection of, like, prestigious Academy Award-winning award-winning just Shakespearean actors who appear in like these in supporting roles in these action films. Helen Mirren was doing that for a while. She was in like some Fast and Furious movies.
Oh, yeah. She's in the Red movies,
and she's in the Red, yeah.
Which is interesting to me. I didn't realize that was a DC comic movie.
Red?
Yeah.
Oh, I believe it is, yeah. But yeah, so apparently he's hopping on board with Helen Mirren and the like to do some action films. I saw a trailer this weekend for a new Ian McKellen movie called The Critic coming out.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, looks really good. And he's a homosexual in it, so maybe we'll cover it for the podcast.
That would be
looks
good.
really, really good.
Yeah, I was doing a search for films. I guess I'll go first about my week.
Sure.
I was just doing a search for films because my softball game, the season was supposed to start on Sunday and it got rained out. So I'm just looking up a bunch of different movies. And there's a lot of actually really good movies that are made for these networks or, for these streaming services that I've never heard of. And so I just started watching a couple of them, and they were really good. But I did watch, I don't know if we want to talk about this on the podcast because there's one of the three main characters is gay, or four main characters, but it's Ricky Stenicki. Have you seen this?
I haven't. Have you seen this? Have you heard of this?
Do you know what it's about?
I do know what it's about. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, so I'll just tell our listeners here that Ricky Stenicki is about these three friends that their whole lives, whenever they get in trouble or whenever they want to do something and they don't think people will let them, is they've invented this person called Ricky Stenicki that they're like, oh, Ricky did this and it wasn't us, or hey, Ricky's in trouble and he needs our help, so we have to go do this. And then they go to do stupid things. They like go to the Little League World Series or whatever it is that they do. So they get busted on when they go away. One of the guy's wives is pregnant and she ends up going into labor 6 weeks early. And everybody's like, oh, well, they're visiting their friend Ricky Stenicki, who's in the hospital because he's got cancer. So let's call around to every hospital where they said they're going to be. And then they find out that there is no person named Ricky Stenicki anywhere. So then to prove that he's a real person, they hire this X-rated, he does rock star impersonations, but X-rated versions of their songs. And it's, oh God, it's so bad, but it's so good. And and that's played by John Cena. It's hilarious. And one of the three leads is gay. So that's why I was going to talk too much about it in case that we ever want to like cover something that's more recent than, trying to get a movie that was, that was filmed on.
Push through that.
That was filmed by hieroglyphics in a cave somewhere, like every movie we've been watching recently.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was pretty cool. Do you know what else I saw? I went to see Beetlejuice.
So did I.
I went to, Dylan wanted to watch it and Jen wanted to watch it, and which usually means I have to watch a movie twice. I didn't have high hopes for this. So I said, Jen, if you want to watch Beetlejuice, you have to drive to St. Pete Friday, and we'll all go Saturday morning and watch it. So we went, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought they did a really good job kind of carrying over the same vibe as the first one.
Complete same vibe. They did a really good job with that.
Yeah, I really loved it.
I mean, there were things I can nitpick here and there, but all in all, I actually really, really, really enjoyed it. I thought that the girl who's from Wednesday, right?
Jenna Ortega, yes.
She was really good. I enjoyed that. Somebody told me that they thought there were way too many subplots in it.
Yeah.
And I was fine with all of them.
Yeah, that was the biggest complaint, was the Beetlejuice ex-wife and the Willem Dafoe cop kind of side things were that people said it just kind of fluffed up the story. But I thought it was really good. I thought it did a really good job of taking the first movie, and I don't know if you watched the animated show that came on. It was a nice vibe from a blending of both of those vibes. So I really dug it.
They also kind of took some elements from the Broadway show.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, that's so good. In fact, it's the Broadway show that made me want to go see this.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember, I remember as a kid and I liked Beetlejuice enough, but I wasn't like, oh my God, Beetlejuice, you know? But yeah, the whole idea in the Broadway show, it's her mom that she's trying to go back to see.
Yeah.
But it's Lydia, but she's trying to go back to see her mom, and she goes back to the old world, and they fight that whole thing. So that was kind of similar. So that was pretty cool. I don't understand why Lydia has to wear black all the time.
Because that's her thing. That's her shtick. She hosts a ghost show.
I understand.
She has to wear all black.
I understand, because when I saw the previews, I said, I don't want to see this movie because Winona Ryder's wearing the same outfit in this movie that she wore in the entire movie the last time. And I just think after 30 years, she should probably change her clothes. So, but I get that they explain she's doing the show and that's why she's watching it. But when she's not taping the show, which is 90% of the movie, then why?
It's just her personality.
I mean, come on.
Don't put down the goths.
Come on.
Sometimes they just want to be
all
gothy.
Black, always, all the time, your whole life.
I know people in my life who only wear black all the time. Always.
Always have. From teenager to
as long as I have known
adult.
them, they have only wore black. They will not add any color into their wardrobe.
Well,
some people are just that way.
If you're Jeremy's friend who only wears black, I need you to email wwn@watermarkonline.com. Tell me why.
She doesn't listen to this.
Tell me why.
This isn't dark enough for
it's
her.
Comedy. I mean, you know what? I wear black t-shirts all the time when I'm not working because it's easy. So I get like that, but like that dress is not easy. None of the outfits that she wore were easy. So anyway, the other thing I will say is the only other complaint, and I don't know if anybody else feels this way. I mean, I told it to Jen, and she goes, "Oh yeah, that's probably accurate." But after watching the Broadway show and after watching like clips from the first show, Beetlejuice was way low key. Like, you know, you get this like cocaine vibe from Beetlejuice, right? That he's just high energy and talks fast and is da 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 da. And that wasn't the case. He was
Yeah, I think a lot of that had to do that he was played by 70-year-old Michael Keaton.
100%.
I mean, you know, it's like when what was that
Joe
Scorsese movie
Biden?
that came out, The Irishman, and they de-aged Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. And they're like, oh, this is going to be really good because it's going to be like watching them in their prime. No, they're still men in their 80s running around the streets acting like they're in their 20s and 30s. They're going to move like old men.
You know what it reminds me of a little bit? And I totally appreciate this, but in the second Jumanji, the second show of the second iteration of Jumanji, when Kevin Hart had to play like he was Dan Aykroyd. Not Dan Aykroyd. Danny Glover,
yeah.
That was hilarious to me. The speech pattern, and you know, I loved it.
Yeah, I feel like it's easier to play old than it is to be old and play young. It's probably an easier journey.
I know. We saw that in the last presidential debate.
Yeah. Anything else this week?
You know, I don't think we're talking about.
Oh, right.
I mean, other than what we're going to talk about. How about you?
Oh, excuse me.
I know we're both very burpy. We apologize.
Not a whole lot. It wasn't too eventful of a week. The week before was a lot, a very busy week. So I just kind of played low key. But it was Chris's last week here before he went up to his next assignment up in Rochester. So he just hung out, and then I took him to the airport on Saturday. And then mostly just catching up on shows. The new season of Only Murders in the Building is out. So I watched the couple episodes that are out for that. And that is just such a fantastic show. I love that show so much. And no disrespect to The Bear or any of the other comedies that have been out the last couple of years that have won or been nominated for comedy Emmys.
Jeremy.
Hey, it's in the comedy category. I can't argue with it. But consistently, this show has just been so good. Now, for going into its fourth year, it surprises me it has not won a bunch of Emmys. And it's because there have been quote unquote better shows. The Bear, Ted Lasso. I think the first year it was out, kind of swept and won everything.
I think last season of Only Murders in the Building was its best.
I think it was the best too, but I think that's just saying how good 3 was, because I think 1 or 2 were some of the best television that's been on in decades.
I just mean that I think season 3 was so good that maybe it'll stand a chance. One would hope to win some.
It's already gone. It lost.
Oh, it didn't.
Yeah, the
that
Emmys
was
just happened. Yeah.
And what's
season
on
4
Sunday?
Is the Emmys for this past year.
So season 3 wasn't this past year?
Season 3 was last summer.
Oh.
Yeah, they do it once a year.
See, I don't know what they did last summer.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's a movie you can watch. It lays it all out for you. And then if you don't get it, you can watch the second one where it tells you what they still did.
When Meryl Streep sang that song in that rehearsal, I loved it. I love her character in this show.
They didn't win. None of them won anything.
Believe it. Well, I mean, I think somebody... I was going to talk about this too, but I think somebody from Only Murders in the Building won an Emmy this year because they did some awards already. They
did guest. I didn't look at the winners list yet, but I do know that Jamie Lee Curtis won for The Bear.
I'm sure she had a hilarious role in it. Did she bring out her hot dog fingers? Is that what did it?
You know what? I don't want to push you even further into the anti-Bear column. However,
maybe she played like a cracked out mother.
Because it is one of the most amazing, most dramatic performances she's ever done.
Are you joking?
I actually went and watched that episode. It's the Thanksgiving episode, and it's a really good episode, but it is not comedy.
I just want you all to know that I am highly triggered right now at this very moment, and my bear rage is roaring. It's just absurd. God, I don't need to go into it. It's absurd. And if she's like having this dramatic monologue where she's crying and screaming at somebody and she wins for favorite guest star in a comedy, that's it. I'm not watching them.
I was just scrolling through the list.
You just take an hour of next week's podcast to talk about what you thought about the Emmys, and I'll just sit back here and grunt.
Do you an iPhone commercial won best commercial? That make you happy?
The guys,
fuzzy feelings.
There's 2 guys. I'm assuming it was Only Murders in the Building because I know they were attached to last season, and maybe they wrote that song I was talking about.
Maybe, yeah.
The 2 guys.
Well, Nathan Lane won last year for best guest actor for Only Murders. So I know they did win at least one.
There's a lyricist or musical composition duo. The 2 guys that were. That wrote the music to Dear Evan Hansen. Yeah. I just read an article today. Well, I read a headline, let's be real, which is why I can't go into any elaborate version of this story. But it said that they have an EGOT now. And because they won something on the Emmys, and because they wrote the music to Dear Evan Hansen, I don't care what else they did, they deserve the EGOT.
They won for, do you know what song they won for? Which of the Pick-Wit triplets did it? The one that Steve Martin sings?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It's a good song. I really like that song.
That makes me sad.
Why?
Because I like the one that Meryl Streep sang.
Oh, it doesn't even look like that was nominated.
That's funny.
Sorry.
Well, good for them. And so there you go.
Yeah.
A legit
guest
EGOT.
acting.
Them and Rita Moreno.
Ooh. Outstanding guest actor in a comedy series. John Bernthal from The Bear. Outstanding guest actress
Let me guess.
in a comedy series.
He murders.
Jamie Lee Curtis in The Bear.
Yeah, she murders. He murders Jamie Lee Curtis, and she murders him at the same time, and it's this very dramatic comedy. Yeah.
The funny part is outstanding guest actress in a drama series came from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is kind of a comedy action. I've only seen one episode of it, but it has more. It felt more comedy than The Bear.
Everything.
Who do I know? I am not an Emmy
Schindler's
voter.
List is more comedy than The Bear,
Oh.
which is to say that it's not funny at all.
I'm pretty sure, because I've seen a couple episodes of The Bear, there is more comedy in that than there is Schindler's List. Now, this is going to sound terrible. I don't know that 100% for sure, because I have, in fact, never watched Schindler's
Are
List.
you kidding me?
No. I've tried to watch it like 4 or 5 times, and I fall asleep within the first 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
Now, that's
how.
nothing against the movie. For some reason, I always feel like, oh, I need to watch this movie, but I'm always in a very drained state,
Yeah.
and I end up falling asleep.
I love that movie. It's so well done, and I saw it back like in the theater where they would stop the movie and have like a 20-minute intermission because
Yeah.
it's so long. Nowadays, it's like, no, the art must go through the whole thing. No
you know
breaks.
what? If you want reclining, rocking chairs in your theaters, you're going to suffer through the entire movie the entire time.
You shouldn't have a 4-hour-long movie if you've got that kind of a chair. I will sleep.
I gotta say, because when we went and saw Beetlejuice, we went and saw it at the Regal Cinema at Waterford, and after seeing movies there and seeing movies at Epic has the electric reclining ones. Regal has the rocking chairs. I cannot stand the rocking chairs.
No.
Just put some recliners in.
Just do it. You know, I feel bad for theaters because they suffered, right?
Yeah.
After COVID, and they're still struggling to have the big comeback.
Suffering for their art.
But everything is like, it's not the experience. Like everywhere I go, the stuff's peeling off the seats, and like the popcorn's burnt and gross, and it's just not.
Yeah. Well, they just did a renovation at Waterford, and the theaters are nice. They're just, I don't care for the rocking seats, and the audience is just they're atrocious. They're terrible. About 5 minutes into the movie, and like 50 people piled into the theater because nobody knows how to show up anywhere on time, and they're getting in their seats and talking the entire
And
time.
flashlights on their phone because they
So
can't see what they're
obnoxious.
saying. Yeah.
So obnoxious.
I go to the movies. I love to go to the movies because I love 20, 30 minutes worth of previews. And, you know, and they're just, everybody's like, people like that I would say, hey, let's go to the movies. They're like, okay, well, there'll be like 20 minutes of previews, so let's just get there 10 minutes late. I'm like, no, we're going to get there 30 minutes early. I'll finish my popcorn before it starts, and I want to watch the previews.
Yeah, I enjoy the previews. I don't like how many previews and commercials are there. We timed it. There were 31 minutes of commercials and trailers before they finally got to
Well,
Beetlejuice.
I don't appreciate the commercials, but I do love the trailers. I mean, how else do I know what's coming out?
YouTube.
Yeah, you know what?
That's how you get
No.
your trailers, your music videos, and your news.
I read my news from
YouTube.
the newspaper. I use the guide on my TV to tell me what shows are on.
Who has
I don't
a
need the
guide on their
YouTube.
TV anymore.
I read the things they give you on a cruise that tell you what's going on. I don't watch the videos beforehand. I'm not a YouTube person.
Really?
I mean, I'm on it right now,
yeah.
but no,
Are
I'm
we?
not yeah, we
Are we?
are. Caitlin watches it.
She's our number one fan.
If you're going to renovate your theater, and somebody walks in that theater and it is not a reclining chair, you did not renovate your theater.
Yeah,
Just put in a reclining chair.
I agree. I agree.
And make them leather seats so that when somebody's in the middle of the movie and they want to adjust it, all you hear is
yeah.
good times. Do
I
anything
agree.
else?
No, not really. I did get my Nightmare Before Christmas Lego set in the mail, so
Oh, yeah?
built that, and yeah, that's about it. Just very low key week. Got a busy month coming up for us with Pride events and all sorts of stuff. So Just taking it easy the next couple of weeks.
We do. From now until
Oh, you know what did happen? This was annoying. My debit card number was stolen. I got a call from the bank, and they're like, we see a series of charges that we're pretty sure was not you. I was like,
what'd you buy?
They didn't tell me what I buy, but apparently I went on Amazon and Walmart and tried ordering a bunch of stuff to have it delivered to addresses that I do not live at. And they're like, have you ever lived in a Apopka? And I was like, not me, but I know someone.
I do too. Times are hard.
But yeah, apparently someone in a Apopka was trying to have a bunch of shit sent to their house. But they didn't tell me what it was. But they just canceled my credit card, and she says it's in the mail. It'll be to you in about 5 to 10 business days. And I was like, how am I going to access my money? So I've been living off credit cards for the last couple of days.
Whenever somebody talks about a Apopka, I immediately think of Rita's, and it makes me so hungry.
Rita
for
Moreno?
That. No, the ice place. Italian ice.
Is that the only place it's at? Is a Apopka?
No, there's one. There's others.
You just really like that.
There's one on Goldenrod, I think, and then there's another one in Maitland. But that's just where our friend that used to work at Watermark, Erica, she and her wife own the one in Apopka. That's the first one that they bought. I think they might own another one. I don't know if they still do. But we used to drive out there at lunch. Tom would get so mad because it takes like an hour and a half round trip, and we're supposed to get an hour for lunch. But we're like, let's go see Erica. And then I would get cherry ice with chocolate custard. Oh, that was delicious. It's been a long time since I had something like that.
I don't think I've ever been to a Rita's, but I assume it's similar to a Jeremiah's. How dare you, sir? we eat Jeremiah's in my house.
I used to. I just lost the taste for it.
But it's the same kind of thing. It's the icy with the custard kind of thing. Is that what Rita's is?
Sorry. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Ooh, this segment's going to get me in some trouble.
Jeremiah's has a cookie dough one with, what flavor icing was it?
Oh, cookie dough custard.
Yeah,
like,
cookie dough custard.
Ice. That sounds
and
hideous.
the icing, it's like a chocolate icing.
That
I think
sounds
it's
delicious.
icy. It's really, really good.
Yeah. That's some good stuff.
It's my favorite.
I go on a search for like Hawaiian shave ice, and no one has it. It's either like Italian ice, which is fine and good.
Yeah.
Or there's like snow cone ice, which is less good to me. But there is a food truck, and I don't know if it's still parked over there on Lang, in the Vimy district. That is like totally authentic. They have their grandfather's like shave ice machine from Hawaii, and it's so delicious.
Nice.
Yeah, that's all.
I
was just thinking of this earlier. I have this vision in my head that the VA is like super well run, like this one here. Because it's like it seems like a new
VA
building,
hospital?
and it seems like it's very nice.
Sure.
So when you have to get blood work, you go in and you're like, "Hey, I have this appointment." You sit down for a couple of minutes, and boom, you're in. You get your blood work, and you're out.
They don't do appointments. They constantly have the blood center open, and you just come in during their operating hours and you pull a number. It just depends on what time of day. Sometimes they're super busy and you're going to wait an hour. Sometimes you go right in.
Do you remember there was a time that you were alive before you were in the military.
There sure was. Yeah.
And did you have to go and get blood work done anytime before you went into the military?
I'm sure there was. I mean, I've gone to doctors before I joined the military.
And did they not used to just draw your blood in the doctor's office? I seem to remember this being the way that the world was run.
I don't recall. I do know, like, I go to Pineapple Healthcare, and they draw my blood right in the doctor's office.
Yeah. See, yeah. Right. So that just doesn't happen anymore. So I had to get blood work done today. And I make my appointment really early, which is probably the problem, right? Because everybody who's got to get, drug tested or, wants to get their before they go to their job kind of a thing. And it's all got to happen before working hours. So everybody goes early in the morning. But it's such a cluster at like these centers where they do this. It's so fascinating. Like made the mistake of thinking my appointment was at 7:30. It was at 7:50, and then I get there and they're like running 20 minutes behind schedule. And so they're constantly. I mean, and the place is packed, and they're constantly telling people, if you're a walk-in, leave. You'll be here for 4 hours. I was sitting next to a woman who got there at 5:30 in the morning, and it was 8 in the morning, and she hadn't been called back.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it was just madness.
That is madness. Have you thought about going to Pineapple Healthcare?
What I do appreciate about them, though, is that every time I go there to a place like that, they are perfect at it. I had to get like 11 bottles, 11 test tubes of blood drawn, and I mean, I barely felt it. So
nice.
Good for them.
Yeah, well, for obvious reasons, I get about 15 to 20 vials taken every 6 months. And I don't even feel it anymore. I used to be so squeamish and I would have to look away and be on my phone because if I saw the needle go into my arm, I would pass out. Now I stare at it and I watch them look for the vein and put it in there. I'm so fascinated with it. I can't feel it at all.
I have to watch it go in, so I'm not surprised by it. But then it's like weird watching it all splash around. But anyway, speaking of bloodbaths, would you like to talk about Big Brother Week 8?
Yes,
we're on Week 8 now, yeah?
That sounds about right.
Sure.
Yes. Episode 23, 24, 25, I think is the catalog that we're talking about today.
So here we are. It is a Wednesday night, and Quinn is head of household, and he has put up Rubina, Angela, and Chemo. Is this correct?
Yes. You know what's funny is because we won't talk about it in this episode, but I've gotten this habit, and you got me turned on to this, of spoiling things for me. So it gets weird because whenever I look up the spoilers, they write their full names, and it cracks me up that these people have last names. I don't know why it should crack me up, but seeing them with last names kind of makes them real people, which is sad because when I watch the show, I hate them as if they're like, AI developed entities and not real humans. But when I read the spoilers, I see their last name and I'm like, oh, you're an actual human being who has feelings. And that's why you all boo-hoo through the entire show.
They are real people. I get that. But I also believe that they're playing characters.
Do you know what Angela's last name is?
Angela is actually the only person who is not human and has no last name.
Her last name is Murray. Her name is Anne Murray.
How dare you? How dare you ruin Anne Murray for me? I love Anne Murray.
I know. That's why I told you. Anyway, so yes, we've got Angela, Rubina. Well, we've got Angela Murray, Rubina Benarbi, and Chemo Apaka. Yeah.
All right.
Put up by Quinn Martin.
He looks like a Quinn Martin.
He does look like a Quinn Martin.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just say this before we get into all of the who's and the what's. Mm-hmm. I don't understand what's happening this season. I've watched this show, I think, since season 11, and this is 20-something.
26, right? Yeah.
26. I feel like season 11 was the first one I watched. I could be wrong. But I have never seen people cry so much on this show.
They do. They're pumping something into the air in there. Everybody is so emotional.
It is very difficult to watch when it's everyone, and you're talking like what I call Dear Evan Hansen crying, where they're just convulsing, and like their little chins are shaking, and they're listening. Come on, and then it turns into this all out wailing.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Yeah. So, every show starts off when they do the previously on Big Brother, and at the very end they go to like a line from a previous episode. Well, on this one, it was Angela telling Chemo that like he's always going to be friends with Joseph. And Chemo goes, "I voted to keep him." Or no, with Tucker.
With Tucker. Tucker and you were always going to have that relationship, and he's like, I voted to keep him.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
I have the two things that I find giving me life in this show is one of them is the way that Chemo looks at people with such an annoyance. I'm like, Chemo, you are the face of the audience this season. Because he like hand goes on his hip and he just has this weird annoyance look on his face that I absolutely adore. The other thing is T-Core. No matter who she's talking to, whether she's friends or not, is so condescending when they're talking. It doesn't matter if they're being emotional or what. And she's like, and she just does the and it just sounds like she could give a rat's ass what you have to say right now. And
Probably,
I love it.
I think her accent might have something to do with it too, like a little like nanny-ish,
Yeah.
you know, like judging little children.
Yeah. It's a little condescending, and I don't hate it. They're currently my favorite, T-Core and Chemo. I adore them.
I do not like them one bit.
No.
And you know what?
Shocking.
I was thinking about this today, and usually like this thing that you and I have going on about the people in the house, because surprise, I like Quinn.
I know. I had a talk with
Quinn.
Ryan about this because I was like, I need to see where you fall, either Team Rick or Team Jeremy. He's totally Team Jeremy.
But that is par for the course, because
Oh,
it
is it?
doesn't matter what happens on Big Brother. Ryan and I never agree.
Oh,
We
interesting.
don't, except now we both agree that we hate Angela, but he loved her
Yeah.
at first, and I was always like, she cray. So the
I've gone back and forth over her. I hate her now.
Even if there are people, I say characters in the show that I then start to gravitate towards, then he ends up gravitating towards the other side and just completely doesn't like any of them. So I've come to terms with this, and I'm okay with that. You know,
Yeah.
listen, if I like a contestant on any show, they're not going to win. So
Yeah.
sorry, Quinn, you're not going to win. Maybe T-Core or Chemo will. I mean, I don't dislike them, but I do not like them, and I'll tell you why. And when we get to it, and I'm surprised that you like them, because they're a little too kumbaya, tree hug and circle.
They're all way too emotional. If I was going to base this off of I don't like people in the house who are overly emotional, I would hate everyone in the house.
Well, no, I mean, it's not just that they're emotional. They're also like, she's like this manifest whatever. That whole weird circle
that
thing
doesn't
between
bother me.
Rabina and Chemo and her was just like, and she's like she's some mother hen, because she's like what, a comp beast, or she's got this game locked, so she's gonna sit there and hold hands with them and say, you can do this, and then yeah, it's spoiler, and then they both end up saved, and she must be thinking that her
It
whole
worked.
guru crocheted spirituality crap
It worked.
No,
Even she's grown on me so much that I would buy one of her crocheted hats.
does yarn burn? Because if it does, I'd buy one too. You know what I'd buy? I'd buy the one that got shit on, and I'd give you that one. All right, so here we are.
Yes.
Where we're at this thing, and at the beginning of the episode on Wednesday, they always go to the people who just got nominated and ask them what they. And here's a reason. One, why I just don't like Chemo's game. Because Chemo's sitting here saying, well, it's been a bumpy road with Quinn, so I don't know where he stands and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess why it's been a bumpy road, Chemo and T-Core? Do you forget that you all abandoned Quinn?
He
I mean, they just
abandoned them
did.
too. I know that you're on Team Quinn, but he's a pain in the ass, and they should have ditched him on day one.
He did not abandon them at all.
Okay.
They're the ones who left to go to a different side of the house. He was part of alliances that he was telling them that he was part of. Anyway, we've been through this. We don't need to go into it all.
Yeah.
They're just characters anyway. So they go to that. Chemo's complaining about that. And guess what? Angela's crying.
Yeah. Yeah, she is. Always.
And then
Always
she's
and
wondering why
forever.
she got put up when she just said, she just went on after being like the renom at the veto before, starts yelling at Quinn and like, fool me once, you know, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And then she's crying and doesn't know why she got put on the block. Well, maybe it's because you called them out. Maybe you shouldn't yell at people who could be the next head of household.
The whole thing, Angela thinking that her and Quinn are fine and things have smoothed over. I'm like, are you in the house? Are you paying attention? Obviously, he can't stand you. You've had enough falling outs that there's no reason she should think, Quinn's gonna save me because we're buddy now. He fucking hates you.
Yeah, and if they're all smart enough to if they're watching each other like we're watching the show, nobody in that house is loyal to anybody.
Yeah. No, they are not. This episode also solidified the fact that Leah is obnoxious and I cannot stand her. First First of all, she's she more so than anybody else. She's whiny crybaby. And her whole mopey Eeyore, I don't have any alliances. And then stringing Quinn and Joseph. Listen, I get it. It's a game. Use whatever tools you have at your disposal. But Leah's entire game is let me flirt with the dudes so that they will keep me. And it's working. She did it to Quinn, she did it to Joseph, and she did it to Cam. And all three of them are like, anything you say, Madam Leah.
She has made it very clear to them, though, that she is only interested in being friends with them.
Okay, you can say things and then do things that are contradictory. And her being like, oh my God, we're just friends. But then laying in bed and playing with their hair or being all cutesy and footsie. Stop with the flirting, Leah, if you're not interested.
I think that
it's a sad, pathetic attempt.
I think the sad, pathetic attempt is on the guy's side.
They're absolutely
because they're
simping and
laying
pathetic.
their head in her lap and being like, play with my hair, show me some affection. And she's like, oh, whatever. They're the there's somebody for everybody, right? There really is. And there are people out there that, she's an admitted chubby chaser, right?
I feel like she said that earlier in the season.
Yeah, she's an admitted chubby chaser. So look at them. They're not her type. But they just can't fathom the idea that they couldn't like her or that she wouldn't like them. And I find that so weird. It's just weird to me that they would keep doing this.
They're simping.
Can you imagine if Chemo was like constantly laying his head in Tucker's lap and Tucker's like, I'm not gay, dude. He's like, it's okay, just pet my hair. Like, come on.
I'm not saying that
they're not both in the wrong too.
I'm just saying y'all need to pull your heads out of your asses.
Yeah, well, I think they do that once they get voted out of the house.
Well,
okay, so then we get to this conversation between Joseph and Chelsea, which is one of my favorite moments of the episode because Joseph is going on and on and on like he's the mastermind of the show.
This is a problem with a lot of people on the show. And again, maybe it's because we're seeing everybody's conversation, so we know everything that's going on.
And we're only seeing snippets.
Yeah, but there are so many people in this house who think that they're the top dog, and it's like, dude, if you've been watching the show for 8 weeks, because you are nowhere near the top. You win nothing. No one is, not that they don't like you, but nobody seems to want to be in a solid alliance with you. And I think he learned that very hard lesson this week.
If you're not the first person in an alliance, you're just there for a vote.
Yeah.
And him, bringing up Dr. Will, who you wouldn't know.
I researched.
Yeah. But to say like he's like that, no. Dr. Will was a mastermind of things, and he used his friend.
He apparently
Boogie.
went to Twitter to talk about that, but couldn't give too much information because I guess he works with Big Brother now. So he's like, I can't say much. But basically said that Joseph did not have a game.
No, he didn't. And like my impression is, and I don't remember watching all of these seasons. I think I watched the second one. I certainly didn't watch the one that he won first. But he used his friend Boogie to win comps and manipulate things and keep him safe. And then that's actually the one where I said that somebody, I think, actually slept with somebody in the show to get them to vote a certain way. And I'd have to watch it again, but that's my impression of my memory is that that's something that Boogie did. I could be wrong, but yeah, Joseph definitely, like I've seen Dr. Will play, and you, sir, are no Dr. Will. And watching Chelsea just like laugh about that was joyful to me.
So I thought this was hilarious because this is kind of what set in motion the more chaos this week, and just made me hate Leah even more. So everybody's kind of hanging out in the HOH room, and except for Angela and Leah, and they're in the kitchen, and Angela's doing her little crybaby wah thing, and it's tugging at Leah's heartstrings. She's like, I'm like a mama to you, help me. And she's like, because she won veto. Did we skip over that part?
We skipped over that part.
She won veto.
I don't know if we got there yet. I just got to the, I have notes about Angela crying and feeling misunderstood, and I don't name call. Where the fuck did Crazy Eyes come from then?
Yeah.
She makes me crazy. She makes me crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So
you know who she I wrote this down. Do you remember Kids Bop Mom?
No.
You need to Google that video. That is Angela. Angela is Kids Bop mom.
I'll have to check it out.
Yes.
All right, so we have Vito, which is... Wow, is this long ago? It's Tucker, Angela, Chemo, and Rabina.
No, Tucker's gone.
Tucker's gone.
It's Quinn. You're looking at the wrong note.
Am I reading notes from like the week before? Or I wrote the wrong... Not Tucker, it's Quinn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Quinn, Chemo, Rabina, Angela, and then they draw the names. Angela's name gets drawn, and she picks Joseph.
Right, which she wanted to pick Leah, but she didn't.
Yeah,
because she didn't want to put Leah at risk.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
I
then
just wrote
the
the wrong name.
next name drawn was Leah, so it didn't even matter.
Yeah.
She didn't pick Leah because Leah's name got drawn. So that is who is in the veto comp.
And this is a... Oh, then I wrote down. Then we get T-Course motivational talk.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a veto competition. There's like one or two veto competitions that I'm like, if I was in the Big Brother house, I would say not doing it, and this is one that I would not do. Now it's pretty inane. Some of them are scary. Like they'll turn all the lights out in the house, and they'll put like actors dressed like dead children in rooms, and you've got to go into the room and get something, and it's like, and then there's loud noises and banging. Like, no, fuck that. I don't need a veto. I'll go home.
Yeah.
I'll go home where all my lights work. So this is they have to see a picture of a robot, or they see a robot built.
Yeah.
And then they have to crawl into a room that's pitch black, and they have to feel around for the parts of the robot and then try to recreate that robot.
Yeah.
Which Quinn had, except for one leg. He had it in his hand, and he threw it across the room.
And then it just sat in the corner. There's a lot. Not over the past couple of weeks, but specifically in this week of episodes, that made me think that even though Quinn says he is a super fan of Big Brother, I am skeptical whether he has ever seen an episode of Big Brother, because some of the things he did this week were just asinine and stupid. And one of them was playing that game and chucking the piece across a pitch black room thinking, oh, I don't need this. How stupid can you be? He could have won that.
That's stupid.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, they put decoy pieces in, and I think what he thought is that he 100% had the right leg, so he threw the other leg across the room to get it out of his way. But yeah, I mean, he
put it back in the box.
There is no denying that Quinn makes bonehead decisions, and I get
idiot.
that. I don't mind it so much, but he definitely, if he was just a little bit smarter, he would have this game locked.
Yeah.
But maybe that's part of his whole thing. Maybe that's part of his charm. I got a text message over the weekend from a friend of mine that I haven't talked to in forever, but she's a huge Big Brother fan, and we used to talk about it all the time. So she texted me, and she said, I don't know. This might make sense to you, so I can't wait to hear your thoughts. She said, I don't know if you're watching Big Brother this season. She goes, but watching Quinn in the diary room reminds me so much of you, and that if you were on that show, that would be you in the diary room. And I started laughing because I thought, first of all, I dig Quinn, and second of all, Jeremy fucking hates him.
I'll tell you right now, that is not a friend. She is not a friend of yours. She just insulted you. And you really should rethink that friendship.
I don't mind it so much. I thought, yeah, she goes, definitely not the hair or the mustache, but just the way he talks in the diary room, which is probably how I'd be. I mean, like I say, it's him in the diary room that makes me appreciate the game that he's playing.
No, he's a little too I can't see you being that spastic.
He yells a lot.
He's like a little jackrabbit bouncing around, hyperventilating and screaming. I don't see you ever doing that.
No, I mean, there'd have to be a lot of energy drinks in the house to get me there.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Leah wins.
Yes.
And she cries.
Yep.
And then I wrote, is she now a comp beast because she won a comp? Because that's how this season goes, right? Somebody wins one thing, and now they're now they're the threat.
I am the ruler of this house.
So then this thing happens, and I have to tell you, I'm not a fan. I would say I'm not a fangela.
Sure.
But this is pretty cool for her, right? Yeah. It doesn't start off cool for her, but it ends up being cool for her. So she ends up going to Joseph because she's like, listen, if I talk to Joseph, Joseph will go talk to Quinn, and I won't be Quinn's target because Angela is Quinn's target, and everybody knows it. So Angela's telling Joseph, like, just go talk to him, and Joseph's like, go talk to him yourself. And then she's like, come on. Joseph is so convinced that Angela's going home that he decides to spill the beans. He's 100% correct on everything that he says to her, but you just don't do shit like that in the Big Brother house. So then he says to her, look, everybody wants you out. You've been shitting on everybody's game the whole time you've been here. Nobody really likes the way that you play the game. We all like you, but you're terrible at this game. In fact, I'm surprised you're still here. So you're going home. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So she gets very, Angela about it. She cries. She's very upset.
And then she she does that motherly thing to Leah. And she's like, I'm so proud of you. And I wish we could have more time together. And she gets in Leah's head. And Leah starts to think, this house might be a better place if Angela was here one more week.
Right.
And she goes and talks to Quinn.
It makes sense. Like people and I get that this is what they've been doing. They've been keeping her because they want her vote in the jury. Mm-hmm. So they all feel like she loves them. And it's like, if I can wait and this is what Angela was trying to tell. This is what Leah was trying to tell Quinn. If I save her and she goes home next week, then she's in that jury. She's going to vote for me to win because I saved her. And I want that to happen. And Quinn's like, no, she'll get you out next week because she has no loyalty. And so that was the whole battle. So like her wanting to keep her for one more week wasn't necessarily stupid.
I get you.
But when, so then Quinn's jealous of Joseph with Leah. I wrote that down. I think, was this when the three of them were in the bed or that happened later? There's just a weird thing.
At some point, the three of them are hanging out and they're both just...
And Joseph lays his head in Leah's lap and then Quinn makes a face and I'm just like, oh, you guys, she doesn't want either of you.
Yeah, this was after she had used
So we weren't
veto.
There yet. So Leah... So Quinn tries to tell Leah, don't use the veto because if you use it, the only person I can put up is Joseph.
And then he gets on his knees and wraps his hand around her waist. He's like, I'm begging you, Leah, please.
Yeah. So guess what? She uses
pathetic.
it on Angela.
To save Angela, which is such a boss move. I hate you, Leah, but that is a boss move.
And I was just so disappointed because I was like, can we just get rid of her? Now she's going to be in the jury house.
I tell you, when Angela eventually
gets
gets out, she needs to buy a damn lottery ticket because that is one lucky broad.
Right?
So lucky.
So then Joseph goes up. And then we get into the AI arena.
Oh, wait a minute. By the way, that's when they got the three of them in there. And Joseph and Quinn are like, or Leah's in there with them. And she's like, are you mad at me? And they're like, no, we're not. We couldn't be mad at you. And I was like,
Leah.
You're all so pathetic. It was so nauseating. She was doing the Marilyn Monroe baby voice, and John and Robert Kennedy were all like, we love you, Marilyn. Let us lick your toes.
You know what?
So
obnoxious.
And
you just gave like the Harvard version, and we watched the nerd version, and nerds need love triangles too.
Obnoxious.
So then we go, up to this point, I'll just point this out, because they pointed out in the show, and I didn't realize that, but up to this point, right?
Yeah.
Before the Thursday of this week we're talking about, everyone who had been voted out of the house was somebody who voted against Ansley coming into the house.
Yeah.
The AI thing.
They call it the Ansley curse.
Right, which I thought was fascinating. So then we do this AI arena, which seems like this is when I talk about competitions and people just not being able to compete. That's like Angela, Chemo, Joseph. Like this was a very physical competition, and like all the physical competition people were voted out. Yeah, and so like if Rubina wasn't in this challenge. So what it is like they've got this rope attached to them, and the rope is like intertwined around like a jungle gym kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And what they have to do is climb through it and around it to untangle it enough that they can stretch their rope out long enough to plug something in.
Yeah, put a little key in the box.
And then they win. And looking at like Chemo, watching Rubina do it, I was like, there's no way these other two are going to do it. If it was Chemo and Angela and Joseph doing it, there's no way that would have been over before the show was over. I would
have shortened the ropes a little bit.
They would have they would have sent a production assistant out and taken those little things and pushed them all the way in, or like gone and cut the ropes and said, "Fine, whoever can run down to the end faster gets it." Like it's just so obnoxious. So Rubina wins.
Yes.
Rubina wins, and then it's Joseph and Chemo. Now, this is one thing I'll say I can appreciate about this whole AI arena twist is that it creates chaos.
Yeah.
And people don't know, they can't plan ahead. So they don't know what the combination is going to be, and then they go in and they don't know who's voting for who. So it makes them vote crazy. Like for example, Angela wanted to vote to save Chemo.
But she didn't. She didn't think they had the votes.
She didn't think they had the votes, so she voted to keep Joseph. But because they figured Mackenzie was voting to keep Joseph, so she did. But then Mackenzie voted to keep Chemo, because she loved his speech.
Yes, because Chemo and you got to. I appreciate anybody in their dire need. Whipping that gay card out. And he's like, listen, queer representation is important, and if you vote me out, you're homophobic. And it's like, Mackenzie's like, he can stay.
Yeah. I mean, there were the waterworks, there were the tears.
Yeah, it was a lot more sympathetic.
It was more like I said. Like, I'm here, you make it sound like that I can respect. But this was more like oh, don't kick me out. I want to represent my community, and if you kick me out, I'm not doing that anymore. So it wasn't like, hey, let's do this for the gays. It was, let me be here and let me represent my community.
You got to play to the room, and that room is a whiny, crybaby, emotional. And Mackenzie went in there, and she does that thing that I love when girls don't want to ruin their makeup. So she's getting ready to cry, and she's like tapping the corner of her eye, and she's like, I'm going to vote for Joseph. And I was like, oh, good choice.
Yeah, that was
good choice, new copies.
I mean, that's smart. You got to say whatever you got to say. I took it as just being like just a gay male version of Angela's crying plea of like, this is my dream, please don't send me home.
But he has a whole community behind him.
Yeah. And he's got a double card. He's like
he's Hawaiian,
like Native Hawaiian, and so he's got two cards.
He's representing.
He's got a pair.
Yeah.
So good for him. And so by a vote of 4-3,
Joseph goes home. And a meme was born that Quinn photo of his jaw dropped has been all over Twitter.
Yeah.
And then him crying over the credits. I'm like, oh, God, the joy I get in seeing him ugly cry.
I just want to point out that at this AI arena thing, Joseph was so bad at it that I wrote down, I think Joseph is making his rope smaller. Like, he was just getting it more tangled. He was so bad at it. But yeah, I mean, Quinn was definitely shocked. And then this is where I'm like, come on. Like, I don't understand this season. I just don't. Joseph walks out the door. What terrible interview, by the way, too.
Oh, he like beelined it out. He was just like angry doing the bye, thanks, see you guys. He was so pissed and trying to get out there so quick.
By the time he got down to his seat, he remembered to be grateful. I feel like the producers tell them, like, don't get out there and be angry.
Yeah.
You better thank everybody and for the experience and all that. So, I mean, he just basically was like, it's a game, who cares? His exit was just like his gameplay. Yeah, whatever. But then... So then we go to the next episode when they're doing the before the head of household, and this is where the house just melts down, and it's insanity. It's like it's crying, and somebody will go to try to console somebody else, and then Mackenzie will come in, and she's like, "I just had to, just for his." It's like Capote.
Well, first
she's
Leah
channeling Capote. She's like, I'm sorry.
Leah goes into the bedroom alone, just bawling, just uncontrollably crying, and then Quinn comes in. And they're both like, I don't know what happened. We had the numbers. And then they're both crying. And then Mackenzie comes in. She's like, I'm sorry. And Chemo just moved me with his words. And they're like, it's okay. We don't blame you.
And then they're just sitting there. And then all of a sudden, Quinn's chin does that thing before people start crying where it like crunches up and it starts shaking. He's like, and then he loses control.
He really is an ugly crier.
It's just
horrendous.
I mean, I get, own your emotions. Sure, be yourself. But man, show us something interesting other than a bunch of people crying all the time. I imagine that they have no other footage to choose from.
Just a 24/7 boo-hoo factory in there.
Like, I don't know. Like, ugh. I bet they've given like the editor, like who has to put all the cryings together as like the cry editor or something. So then, but then it's like, we missed this part. I meant to bring this up before the vote, after Rabina won, or when Joseph was on the block, and there was a chance he could go home and he needed to secure votes. He had to go to Angela and backtrack what he told her. And we forgot to bring that up. And he's basically apologizing to her. And Angela's just eating it like a bowl of ice cream. Yeah. And she was so happy. And she's like, I'm surprised you're still here. She is a grudge-holding, bitter old woman.
Yes, she is.
Good for her.
Although I don't really care for Joseph, so I didn't mind that part.
Yeah, I don't either. And I mean, and she deserved that. She deserved to have that moment because he went so out of his way to tell her, you're going home, and then he went home.
This whole season is just filled with irony.
And then, like, oh my God, then Angela's apologizing to Chemo for voting him out. Because she's like, I wanted you to stay, but we didn't have the votes. And then Chemo's crying, and she's crying. And they're just sitting there looking at each other crying and hugging, and like, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Do you think that they all think that they're going to win? Like, they all think.
Well, yeah, I don't think that you're in the house unless you think you're going to win.
Well, I mean, you play to win. But, like, to me, it's like, there's, like, when Joseph left, he said this quote, talking to Julie, he said, 16 people go in that house, 15 are coming out losers. I'm one of the 15.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's, like, this understanding that you're not going to, that you might not win. But the amount of crying that's happening, I think that they all actually think they're going to win.
Honestly, and I don't know if this is how every season is, I don't believe anyone in that house, up until the point they leave, any one of them think that they're not winning.
It's like, to me, though, it's like playing the lottery. Like, I want to win. I have a plan if I do, and I play it all the time. But I understand that my odds of winning are very low, but I still do it because I want to win. But they cry like someone's taking $750,000 away from them. Like they already have the money and you're taking it away. And I find that very bizarre.
I mean, I don't. I don't think that you go into this not thinking you're not going to win.
I think like I could go into saying there's a good chance that I could win this and I'm going to play my ass off to win it. But if I get voted out, I'm not going to look at it like somebody took away the money from me. I never had it. I just tried to win
the game. I get you. I just think that they all go in with that mindset already. I'm going to win. Whether they are playing a good game or not.
I can tell you who's not.
Can you?
I can.
Who?
Angela is not going to win.
Yeah.
Chemo is not going to win.
Yeah.
Leah is not going to win.
Yeah.
That's my prediction. Who is going to win? I don't know. I don't want Birdshit to win.
T-Core? I think it's going to come down to Chelsea or T-Core.
I like Chelsea. I think
I like T-Core and Chelsea, so I wouldn't be mad if either one of them won. But I think that's going to be your final two.
I wouldn't mind if it was like, I don't know, like, well, I'll say this after we talk about the next thing. It's just because
I don't mind if Mackenzie wins, but I don't think she'll be final two.
I don't mind if she wins either. There's a handful of people. I'm not like so sold on any one person. I just know that there's a couple that I just don't want to win. But there's a thing about T-Core I'll get to after we talk about the next episode. Like, I don't get it. I don't get T-Core.
Could you imagine if final two was Angela and Chemo? How pissed would you be?
I mean, there have been shitty people in the finals before. And then they edit it to piss me off until they get to the vote. Like, you think that this loser who didn't do shit all season is going to win, and then the person who deserves to win does, and you're like, okay, good. So they do that a lot with editing. They screw with you. So anyway, we are
at the HOH
competition.
Yes,
and you probably won't. You didn't watch last season, but I like to say this is the worst idea Big Brother ever had was last season, and it was this whole multiverse concept.
Yeah.
And one of the multiverses was horror. And in the horror thing, they had these people they had to hide from the Nether Gorgon, which basically sounds like a penis to me.
Yeah. From Stranger Things?
I don't
kind of thing?
That's a Demigorgon.
Yeah, but I assume that's what they were going for.
Right. And so they called it a Nether Gorgon, I guess from the Nether regions.
Sure.
And so it made a cameo in this. So they play a bunch of videos and the house has to memorize the videos, and then there's going to be a big question thing, and whoever answers the questions right most wins.
You've got 7 questions, and you got these little steps, and they ask you before or after questions. Did this happen before or after this in the videos? And you have to step up either before or after. And then you've got to get whoever gets the 7 questions right, or the group of people who get 7 right, they get a tiebreaker question that they have to answer.
And you know what's weird to me, though? It's just, again, it's weird to me. It's like we talk about how it's a competition and it's a game, but then they're all sitting on the couches in the living room watching these videos and telling each other what they need to remember from it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're still friends. They've been living together for...
You're going to cry like somebody's stealing your money, and then you're going to make sure before the next competition
you ever
that
think
everybody...
Maybe they're not crying because they're having their money stolen. Maybe they're crying because they're losing one of their friends. Their friend is being booted from the house, and it's hard. That's a hard thing to do.
What did
you
they
ever
think?
kick the friend out of your house?
What did they think happens? Yes. What did they think happens?
Did you cry?
When they leave, did they think they killed him?
Listen, some people develop bonds quicker than others, and that house, I mean, they bonded.
Tell me more.
Tight.
Tell me more about this thing called friends.
I don't know. They just seem to really enjoy each other. I mean, it's obviously a competition, but they do genuinely seem to enjoy hanging out with each other.
They all cry too much, and they all throw that love word around too much.
Yeah.
You can't love that many people.
I learned so much about you.
I love a lot of people.
That builds the puzzle that is Rick.
You like people a lot. I have a lot of friends that I care for deeply. They're not... I do not love everyone.
Your friends?
I don't love everyone.
All right.
I mean, that's a
Duly
lot.
noted.
That's a lot. Right?
I don't know. How many friends do you have in your life?
I don't want to answer that question. Maybe I'll learn to love more.
I mean, I have a lot of friends who they say love you when they leave. When we leave, they give me a hug.
You pat them on the shoulder and say, "They're there."
No, I tell them love you back. I'm not a monster.
But do you love them back?
This isn't about me.
Thank you for answering that question the way that I think.
Most of them that say love you, I love them back.
There are people that
There
I
are people who say love you that I'm not going to. What's the point in saying no? You don't. We're leaving. Please, they're going their way. I'm going my way. You just agree with them and move about your day.
I think the only appropriate response is I know.
I only say that to my Star Wars friends.
Oh, thank you.
When they say I love you, I say I know.
I just am curious. I just think it's a thing to say. And then
I
you
think
say
for
it
some
too
people it
much,
is.
then you'll like say it to the wrong person. Like, you'll be like talking to
I've done
customer
that.
service, and you're like, okay, love you, bye.
Do you know how many times I've been at Watermark events? One specifically I remember. I won't use their name just in case, because they said it back, and just in case they meant it, I won't. But we were saying goodbye, and we had been talking, and there were 3 of them, and just they came in and he was like, hey, see you later. And I was just like, okay, love you, bye. And they were like, love you too. And I was like, ooh, do we? Because that was definitely a out of the blue love you, wasn't thinking.
Let me tell you what happened 15 minutes later. Dear diary, Jeremy Watermark said he loved me.
When we're off the show, I'll tell you who it was.
So I said I love you back.
You know him, so I'll tell you after this.
Then I know that happened.
Every single time since I've seen this person since then, he says "love you" to me.
Oh, look what you did!
I know. I've opened a love fountain,
a love portal.
Yeah. And now the love flows over me.
I'm sure somewhere in the multiverse there is a version of me that says I love you to everyone. But I feel like that's just the thing.
He's currently in this season of Big Brother.
I just feel like that's a strong word, and that's reserved for like. I mean, here's a good way for me to like say like, have I been over to your house for dinner? Have you been over to my house for dinner? Have we gone to a movie together? Have we gone bowling together? If we haven't done any of these things, the chances are I have a wonderful appreciation for you, but love is a strong word. If we loved each other, we'd probably do something like that together.
Yeah.
That's where I'm coming from.
I think there's different levels of love.
Right. And I think that the level that doesn't involve those things is called like. But anyway, that's me. I'm a weirdo.
Anyway, so
We've
the
established
HOA
this.
competition. So they ask the questions. It comes down to
I wish that competitions to be the head of an HOA were like this, but it's HOH.
I did say HOH.
Did you?
Yes.
Your H's sound like ace.
I am becoming aware of that because every time I say
you
HOH,
say it, I think you're saying
think
HOA.
I'm saying HOA. Anyway, so it comes down to 4. It's Chelsea, Mackenzie, who is the other one? Chemo
and Cam.
And Cam. And so they have to
they're
answer.
tied at 7.
They have to answer a tiebreaker question about how many seconds was the egg competition they had a few weeks ago. And Chelsea came closest without going over, so she is the new head of household.
You know, I was thrown for a loop there because I read ahead and I thought it said Mackenzie won.
Yeah.
So when Chelsea won, I was very confused.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, oh, okay, that's right. But she was trying not to win.
Yeah, she says that. A lot of them say, oh, I was trying not to win. But, like, you know, then why are you winning?
Because she wanted Cam to win. So she voted really low, thinking that she was voting
but
too
if she
low.
really wanted to lose,
she would have put 1.
Also, that she would have stepped onto. She knew what some of the answers were.
Right.
She would have stepped on a wrong answer.
You're absolutely right.
So I think she's just a liar. I love you, Chelsea, but you're a liar.
Aren't they all?
Aren't they? They are. I think that's one of the things you need for
But
this
no,
game.
they've played an honest game.
Honest
That's
in
what
the
they all
confines.
say. They all lie to somebody, and then in the next breath, they're like, "But I've played such an honest game."
An honest game within the rules. I mean, like
Right.
I watched The Circle. The whole point of The Circle is you have to be a good liar. That's just part of the game.
Didn't they announce the new cast for that recently?
Yes, I haven't looked at it yet though. That's coming though. It's coming.
It's exciting.
I want to do The Circle. I would
All
never
right.
do Big Brother.
So I will say this: as much as I like Chelsea, Chelsea gets jealous of Cam's relationship with other women,
Yes.
and it bothers me. Like, stop being jealous. Like, because she doesn't say like, "Oh, I'm jealous because I want him myself." She's like, oh, "He's just getting too close." What do you think it is? Do you think she likes
I think
him?
it is that she. Yeah, absolutely. I
She
mean,
won't
there's no
just
other
say
reason
it.
she wouldn't
Either
get
she's
jealous.
not saying it or they're not playing.
Yeah.
it.
But yeah, I get the feeling that she has feelings for Cam, and Cam is being all cuddly, snuggling up to Mackenzie and Leah.
Because you've got to develop close relationships with people because you want them to vote for you at the end of the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you can develop close relationships without putting their heads in your lap. I think we learned that with Leah and Quinn and Joseph. But that's just the game they're playing. They're like, well, get affectionate with them, and that'll make them love me. And that's what they're doing. So it's put a bad taste in
They are very young,
Chelsea's.
though, right? That this happens.
Yeah, most of them, yeah.
Did you have like a gaggle of gays when you were like when you were in your 20s? Did you have a group of friends?
No, I didn't care for gays. I was the token gay in my gaggle of friends.
See, I had a gaggle of gays, and we would all hang out, and we'd like hang out at somebody's house, or all watch a TV or something, and inevitably one. Like somebody would be laying on a couch with somebody else and playing with their hair or something like that, just running their fingers through their hair. And it wasn't like hookups or anything like that. It's just what people did. And I just think they're young, and that's what young people do.
Yeah.
Right, Caitlin? Right? I mean, at the staff meetings, right? We just lay around and play with each other's hair.
Anyway, I have a cuddle party I found on Facebook. I'll send the invite to both of you.
I know who's going.
So Chelsea is debating who she's going to put up, and she's taking interviews with people, and kind of feeling out. And Angela doesn't come in. Angela asks Cam to talk to Chelsea for her, and Cam's like,
Just like she was getting Joseph to go talk.
like she can't talk to anybody on her own. So he's like, yeah, whatever, cool. And then he goes in the room, puts his headphones on, and lays down on the couch, doesn't talk to Chelsea at all. And Angela pops her head in the HOH room and looks around, and Cam's laying on the couch, and she's like, I guess he's not going to talk to her, and then walks away. And Chelsea's like, if you want to talk to me, this is her in the diary room. If you want to talk to me, come talk to me. And eventually,
even like Chelsea had to instigate the conversation.
Yeah.
Or initiate.
Yeah.
She said, I'm ready.
Yeah. So they chat, and Angela's like, sure, you could put me up. That's the easy answer. And Chelsea's like, bet. And she's like, but why take the easy way? And Chelsea's like, because that's how I avoid getting blood on my hands. I take the easy road, and Angela is the easy road.
Also, Chelsea was tied. I mean, this is the thing that I think we forget about, and they don't show anything about it, but people will hold this information. Like, Chelsea and Mackenzie liked Matt and wanted Matt to stay in week 1. And when Angela first flipped her mind, it was on Matt for no reason whatsoever. And they don't like that. Even though they may like her, they hate the way that she did what she did, and they'll get rid of her. But they want her in the jury house as well. So I think this is her week. But anyway, I think it's important to note too, before we get to who gets on the block, is that at the end of the Thursday night episode, they announced that the AI arena
is done.
It's done.
So she's only putting 2 people up now. They're back to regular rules.
Right. And I think you might remember a couple of weeks ago I said, when we were talking about Tucker, and I was like, he has 2 chances to pull himself off, but that's going to end because when it gets down to the nitty gritty of it, they tend to go to the basic rules and they don't. So now the only twist would be that pop up are probably going to be like double elimination nights.
Yeah. So she does talk to not T-Core. She talks to Chemo and says, hey, I would like to put you up as a pawn. Which can't make Chemo feel good because he just, barely scraped by the last one. But he says he trusts Chelsea more than he trusts Quinn. So he believes her.
Yeah, see, I guess, sure, if that's the line that they want to use. But Quinn puts him up as a pawn, and everybody loses it, and Quinn's an evil person. But Chelsea puts him up as a pawn, and both him and Tika are like, yeah, that's a really smart move.
Well, that's because, unlike Quinn, Chelsea is certain she has the numbers to keep Chemo.
Well, I mean, and she said, here's how the numbers work.
Yeah, and she laid it out.
But if Angela wins
here's the analogy that
pulls herself down, then she can't guarantee that.
Chelsea and Quinn as HOHs is like Kamala and Donald. Sure, they both have some of the same plans, but Chelsea lays hers out. Quinn bounces off the walls and he's like, I'm going to put you up and it's going to be fine. And it's like, calm down, you're making no sense. And that's why things never work out for him. Chelsea knows what she's doing.
I agree that Chelsea knows what she's doing. Now, I don't agree that that him in the diary room reminds somebody of me and that's somehow Trumpian.
Oh, no, I absolutely don't think that he reminds me of you in the diary room.
So then she has a conversation with Cam. Chelsea talks to Cam, and she's talking about nominations, and she's going off about the relationship that he has with other people. And again, like how Angela did with Tucker, she's like, you would keep Leah over me, and therefore I'm going to get rid of Leah.
And he said, you're drunk.
Right, I like that.
He quoting, and then he said, you're drunk.
And then he says at the end of the conversation, not to her, but in the diary room, it's like, listen, you're the one who flipped on me last week and didn't tell me, so I'm the one who should worry about you. And he's totally right. He's totally right there. So then we get to the nominations.
Yes. And it's Chemo and Angela.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how we left the episode. I did read ahead.
I did.
So we won't talk about it here, so no spoilers. But after this, we'll talk about it. Because, damn.
Yeah. And it's just for those that listen, on Mondays is when the veto ceremony is.
Yeah.
So you learn what happens.
Yeah,
So after 9:30 tonight, I'm gonna Google and see what happened at the veto ceremony so that I know. I mean, it's still interesting to watch because there's a lot of stuff that goes on. Really, like what's interesting to watch is the relationships between people. I just want to know what happens in the competitions.
Yeah. So that's where we leave it. We've got another week. We've gone to, I guess it's going to regular Big Brother play.
Yeah.
And then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, this is where, hopefully, this is where things should start to get good. Like, by this point,
I feel like it's been good, and I feel like I like the idea of having 3 up there and having the AI arena and all that. I feel like this is going to slow it down and get boring now.
I don't think so. Especially when there's double eliminations. But then they have to start doing things like they'll all get messages from the outside. And one thing that's coming up is Zingbot, which cracks me up because it's this robot that rips everybody apart, roasts them, and sometimes very cruelly so. So I kind of hope Angela's there for that, but I don't know.
We'll see.
I know that the veto competition, I think it's okay to tell people this because they announced it. It's OTEV. So if you're a fan of Big Brother, you know what OTEV. It's veto backwards. But the competition is very physically challenging, and I'm very excited to watch Angela and Chemo play this challenge.
So we'll be back next week with the next round of episodes. And then also we decided to watch a movie, a heavy subject movie this week.
We did. Well, this week, and it's a month and a week, but this week kicks off September, which is Suicide Prevention Week, which is Suicide Prevention Month as well.
Yes.
So we decided to watch. It's a made-for-TV movie. It's made for Lifetime, and it's called Prayers for Bobby, and it's from 2009. So this is actually the 15-year anniversary of it.
Yeah. This past January would have been the 15th because it came out January 24th on Lifetime in 2009. Based on a book by Leroy F. Ahrens, who is a gay journalist who's actually one of the founding members of the National Gay and Lesbian Journalists Association.
Oh, wow.
He wrote the book.
And it's based on his book, but it's based on a true story.
Yes.
And the diary written by
Bobby Griffith, who is a young gay man who killed himself in 1983 due to his mother and extended, to an extent, other members of the family not accepting his homosexuality.
Okay. And Bobby is played by Ryan Kelly, who people might know from Teen Wolf, the series.
Sure. I don't know if because I watched some of it, he didn't look familiar. So I don't know if he was one of the main characters or if he was just like a sub, like a recurring character.
I saw a photo of him from Teen Wolf, and I'll just say that he fills out.
Yeah. Well, good for him.
Ed, his brother, is played by Austin Nicholas, who I do remember from The Walking Dead. He's in The Walking Dead, and he's in The Day After Tomorrow. I think in The Day After Tomorrow, you remember at the beginning of it?
Austin Nichols, yeah.
Yeah, he's like so Jake Gyllenhaal's character likes this girl.
Yeah.
And then
he's the bully kind of guy. Yeah.
The other guy. So that's that. And this character comes along later, but the Reverend, who is the Reverend at the MCC Church, which is Metropolitan Community Church, which is a gay church, is played by Dan Butler, who is Bulldog and Frasier, who's openly gay. IRL.
Yes. And probably the two biggest names, I guess. Sigourney Weaver, who you might know from Ghostbusters or Aliens or 100 other well-known movies. Stars as his
Gorillas
mom,
in the
Mary.
Mist.
And then his dad is played by Henry Czerny, who...
He's like in every. He's one of
those
things.
character actors and everything, but most nobly that I remember from, he was in the Mission Impossible movies. He is the one who, I forget his name, when the tapes come in, he's the one who does the tapes.
Oh,
so he's the one who runs the organization.
Charlie?
No, that's a different tape. And I will say, no disrespect to any of the other actors in this, but aside from Sigourney Weaver and Henry Czerny, the rest of this cast really acted like they were on a Lifetime movie from the early 2000s.
100%.
The acting is so rigid and so cardboard, and
I'm gonna say this about a style of a show, right? So I'm not gonna judge that style because I watch shows like Fire Country. Yeah, these are all Paramount Plus movies. Fire Country, or on Peacock, Chicago Fire. Those are a style of show that are so soap opera like and melodramatic that they seem weird, but that's a choice that style makes. And outside of that, I've seen these actors in other things, and they're completely normal, non-melodramatic style things. So I think that it is definitely a style, and I think that has a lot to do with the
really get away
direction.
from that style because it
I think
really
that
takes you out of the movie.
I think that they do outside of Lifetime. It's sort of like Hallmark movies as a style, too.
Right, no, that's what I'm saying. If you're going into this movie thinking, oh, this is going to be a really impactful movie, it definitely has the style of a made-for-TV Lifetime movie, which, for me, took a lot of the emotional impact out of it.
It was, I don't know, it reminded me, like, I mean, this is my time, right? The age of this character, the whole thing. I bought into it from the beginning, and I mean, at one point there was like the little sisters were so obnoxious, but I was like, in Bobby's reactions to life and how it was clipped together, like emotions came out of nowhere and that kind of thing. I was like, well, this is definitely After School Special vibes.
Yeah,
but I've watched After School Special, so I was like, all right, I'm in it.
Yeah. So the story starts in 1982. It's the grandmother's birthday. Can I just say, I know that she's an old lady, but this lady is a bitch.
I wrote her quotes down because it starts off at grandma's birthday party. It actually starts in 80 something, and then it jumps back to 79, and I think her birthday was in 79. And because I put question mark because it starts off, it had a year, and then it played like 13 seconds of a year, and then it jumped back into 79. Yeah. It opens though with this song, and I think that this is just indicative of the whole show. Like the opening song and then the last quote of the movie sum it up for me. But it's a song that's playing, and she's listening, the mother's listening to a record, and it's like the words are, I need you to listen, I need you to help me. And it's basically a song about somebody singing to Jesus and God to help them through their problems. And it just makes me sad. It made me sad to think, because I know what happens in this show, that if the idea is that this is what Bobby was thinking, it's not what he got. And I think that so many people don't, and it's heartbreaking. But anyway, we get to, then they take from that, then they take you to the annoying quotes from Grandma. It's her birthday, and she says to one of the kids, go get my purse. So the little girl's like, why do I have to be the purse mule? And I always got to get the purse. So then the very good-looking older brother to Bobby is like, I'll take the purse, and he puts it on, and he puts his hand up on his hip and starts walking around like, look at me, I have a purse on. And then the mother says, stop that, it's disgusting. And then the grandmother says, if you ask me, queers should all be lined up and shot. So they definitely paint a picture right off the bat.
Yeah.
Grandma's a bitch.
Yeah, she's a cranky old whore. Can't stand her. Hated her. Even when there's like the turnaround, she still is a nasty old woman.
She is.
It's like, just because you're old doesn't mean you get to be a bitch to everyone.
Right. I mean, like at the end, at the funeral service at the house,
yeah,
she's like, pull it together to her daughter, who's like, why would God let this happen? And she's starting to make this epiphany. And the grandmother says, pull it together. Everyone here is already uncomfortable enough.
Yeah.
And the sandwiches.
I guess that's just their generation. Why were the sandwiches in star shape? We'll get to it. But why are they? What's the point? Your son's dead. You sat there and said, bring me the star cutter to cut my sandwiches into stars? Anyway. So in the beginning, you get to know Bobby. Bobby's got a girlfriend, and he takes her home, and she's like, I want to go all the way. And he's like, I think we should break up.
I know, right? I got to say, like, this is one reason that I can get so emotionally involved in this is because a lot of it, like, the movie we watched about Matthew Shepard was a made-for-TV Lifetime style thing. And I think it had the same sort of style to it.
I feel like it was better acted than this.
And then, it had Stockard Channing. And then this had Sigourney Weaver, who was great. But like when I was in the 8th grade, I had a girlfriend, and she was like, she wanted things to progress, and I was like, we'll go on a date. So I had my mom drive us to Lake Eola, and we got on the swans at Lake Eola and rode around the swans, and we're sitting out there in the lake, and then she like leans in to kiss me, so I kiss her, and I immediately knew. I mean, this was an epiphany for me. This was like, holy shit, I'm gay. I mean, I had feelings, like I thought like, oh, you're not right, you're not normal, blah, blah, blah. But after kissing her, I was like, no, you're gay. This is your life. It's all done. And then I broke up with her that night. So I really kind of related to this story in that respect.
Yeah. I didn't have to kiss a girl to know that I was gay. I just knew.
Well, I mean, I knew, but it was sort of like, it was this whole thing about like in this movie, just growing up and hearing around every corner that every decision that gay people make is wrong, that it's not normal, that you shouldn't be this way, and it's awful. And you just try to say, okay, well, can I be a different way? When I didn't want to be gay. I mean, like how Bobby says, I don't want to be this way. When I first was like realizing this, I 100% was like, I don't want to be this way. And if I could have taken a pill,
because I wasn't raised in a house like that.
Yeah,
so watching this, I'm like, just don't fucking kiss her then, dude.
I thought a lot about you when I was watching this, because I mean, my family was not religious like that, but like when it comes out and they go to a counselor in the movie to say you're going to be straight. That's not what happened to me, but there was this, we're going to fix this, so we're going to take you to a counselor and the counselor's going to fix it. Unlike the counselor bitch in this movie, my counselor told my mom he's gay.
Yeah.
And now the only decision you need to make is whether you want to be part of his life or not. So that's where I got lucky. But I'm watching this and thinking like how we get through, like how my life progressed, not like this, not as bad as, I don't want to, like, my mother is very accepting and my father was very accepting and after the fact, and it was all good. So I didn't have that problem that they did. But I thought while watching this, how different that upbringing would be from you, because I know that you grew up in a very accepting family.
Yeah. In fact, there's a part in here when she meets with the head of the PFLAG, and she's like, I don't know any mother who would say, whoopee, my son's gay. And I went, my mom did.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the difference there. I think that's how I get so emotional. Like I was emotionally tied to every minute of this movie.
I was, the anger I had for his family. We'll get to it when we get to that part, but just in the beginning, it builds up and it's getting too much.
I just point out these lines because these are things that I thought or had said. Like, so Bobby's walking down the train tracks with his brother Ed, and he says, "What do you think Mom would say if she knew one of us was a psychopath?" I'm no doubt in my mind that I said that to one of my brothers at some point, and just in this like cry to like try to get some sort of grasp or understanding or acceptance of your life in some way, because in your mind everything about your life is wrong. It's just so, I mean, it's so surreal to see this movie 15 years later and think like, oh my God, I relate to that so much. But so he then goes home.
Yeah.
And
he decides
like,
he's going to swallow a bottle of aspirin.
Right. Well, he's like, I'm going to swallow a bottle of aspirin and take my own life. But then he goes into his room and he drops the pills onto the ground. He can't do it. And he falls into his bed and he's upset. So his brother
finds him.
He comes home and he sees it and he's like, oh my God, Bobby, did you take these pills? What are you doing? And he's like, I couldn't do it. And then he comes out.
He tells his brother that he's gay, but he says, don't tell Mom.
Cut to the very next scene.
His brother telling his mom.
Very next scene. I mean, just put one other scene in between.
Now, you have brothers. I have brothers. If I tell my brothers, listen, do not tell Mom or Dad this until I'm ready, would your brothers have kept your secret?
You know what? I don't know what would have happened. I mean, honestly, I think that not just like the gay thing, but just in general. No, we never told on each other. In fact, I had a brother once that pushed me off of a roof. I slid down, like scraped my entire body up on the shingles, and I caught the gutter before I fell off the roof, and I looked down and there were just all these boards with nails sticking up underneath me, and I just let go and I fell onto these boards and I was bleeding everywhere. I was like, oh, and I run home and my mom's like, oh my God, what happened? And I said, I tripped and scraped myself on the street. I would never have told my mom that my brother pushed me off a roof.
There is no way she looked at you and believed that story.
100%. You know when you do that thing when you're an adult and you go back and you tell your mom all the things that you did as a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, then we told her. She's like, what? how dare you push your brother? Like I just didn't want him to get
you tell them later in life.
Yeah.
But if your brother has a secret and it's
But
like, don't
this
tell, you keep it.
I don't know if I had told my brothers if I was gay. I don't know if they would have. I just don't know if they would have been accepting at that point, or if they would have said never talk to me and not told my mom, or run to her and told her. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question.
So they come home, and or Bobby comes home, and his mom and dad are there, and his brother, and they confront him. And he's like, you told, and then he like lunges at him. But he's a lot smaller than his brother. So it's a little humorous seeing his little brother lunge at him like he's going to kill him. His brother's like a big football player.
It's just, and it's also, right, for me, it's just tragic to watch. It's tragic to watch their reaction and then his, because they say, we're going to fix this. This is terrible. God, you are not gay, and God will not allow it. God will fix you. And then him breaking down and saying, yes, fix me. I want to be fixed. And it's just like, I mean, just think about the time frame of this, and that's just 20 years ago. Well, no, it's not.
No, it's not. It's 40 years ago.
I was like, no, it's not. The 80s. You know, I'm just that.
This was
I'm at that age where I think 1985
ago.
was 20 years ago, and it's not. But it's just tragic. Even like it's still in recent history.
So
it's a walking. It gets better at. I mean,
so it's she starts hanging Bible verses around the house. She takes him to a psychiatrist who basically tells him that the reason that someone is gay is because they have a distant father and an overbearing mother. So she encouraged him to spend more time with his father. So they come back from therapy, and she's like, you and your son need to spend more time together. That's why he's a queer. And the dad's like, okay.
But that's totally legit. I mean, that's what people thought.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to go camping with my son and he won't be gay anymore. That's absurd.
Yeah. So they go hiking, and the brother and Bobby, and he's not cured. He's still gay, so hiking doesn't help. So mark that off your list.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you're trying to, fix your gay kids, hiking didn't do it.
But when he's trying to sleep at night, his mom prays over him, which is weird. He's going to Sunday school. He's running to try to run away from the gay. All these things to try to turn his gayness off. On that
Sunday school note, if you have a gay son and you don't want him to be gay, don't send him to the Sunday school where the pastor's kind of hot.
Oh, he wasn't unattractive.
He was not an unattractive man, so that's not going to help either. But also, she put like Bible verses all over the house, so every time he looked in the mirror, there was a Bible verse there, and yeah. I mean, but you know what? I'll just say this about her: like, I don't want to bash people's religion, or it's just she was taught this thing. It's what she was told her entire life. And she had never looked outside of that to learn anything other than what she's been told her entire life by all the people she loves and trusted.
Yeah.
So she was trying to pass this off.
There's a lot of things she says in this that makes me think, have you actually read the Bible, or you just listen to people tell you what's in the Bible? Because like things like the, other things in Leviticus about wearing fabrics of two different linens, and beating your daughter if she's not a virgin on her wedding day and stuff like that. And she's like, that's in the Bible? I was like, you preach the Bible. Did you read it?
I'll tell you what I think. I think that the majority of people who preach the Bible have only read the passages of the Bible that they read in church.
Yeah.
And that they use that, or they use it to make an argument that they've been told this is what you use to make that argument. I don't think that the majority of people who go to church have sat down and read through and analyzed the Bible on their own with their own thoughts.
Yeah, agreed. So the dad made a joke when they're all in therapy together, and the therapist makes the mention of reason person's gay is because they have a distant father and an overbearing mother. And he's like, I had both and I turned out fine. Not a time for jokes, Dad.
Right. And then the mother says, because he's like, he's still gay.
Yeah.
And she says to him, you have to pray harder.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means. Does that mean you have to squint your eyes when you do it? Or like,
you're not praying long enough, firm enough?
Somebody told that to my mom once.
That she not praying hard enough?
I had a brother who got in trouble, and she told my mother it's because she didn't pray hard enough.
Huh.
I was like, what is it? And then she got in a car accident, so I guess she didn't pray hard enough.
Jesus didn't take that wheel, did he?
I had nothing to do with that car accident. I just want to make sure that the sentences I put back to back maybe suggested.
So his mom invites a girl over and introduces, I guess it's somebody from church, and invites them to go to a dance together. So she's trying to fix him up with girls. And he's like, I can't even pick my own girls. And she's like, no, the girls you're picking aren't the ones that we like. So he goes to the dance and he's getting paranoid. He thinks his brother told all of his friends. And
Well, because people are calling him queer.
well, yeah, the guy ran into him and he said, watch it, fag. And then he feels like everybody's looking at
what he
him.
said?
That's what
They used to throw that word around all the time.
Oh, yeah. And he hit his shoulder and he's like, watch it, fag. And that's when he starts looking around. He feels like everybody's looking at him and he goes, his brother goes, you told all your friends. And he's like, I don't know what you're fucking talking about, dude.
And then he's like, he didn't want to go dance with that girl because like, what if she wants to kiss me at the end of the night? And the brother goes,
Tell her you're gay. So he ends up leaving the dance and coming home like at 3 a.m. And he gets in a fight with his mom and she's like, we're going out and you're doing all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. And you need to pray harder and blah, 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 blah. So they get in another fight and he storms out again and he goes to a gay bar and he kisses a boy. And
he liked it.
For 1 second, he's loving life. He's like, oh my God, I kissed a boy. And he's like, oh, wow, I like you. And he's like, oh God. And then he storms out, gets all freaked out.
Can I call you? No.
So Bobby's cousin comes to visit. She's visiting from Portland.
Thank God for her.
She is, sorry, I'm losing my voice.
It's okay. It's an emotional show.
She's visiting from Portland and she's supportive of the gays. And she tells them, listen, you should come see me in Portland. Come hang out. It's you get away from these crazy people that are your family.
Yeah, because at dinner it's all about being gay, and she says, I think people should be free to love who they want to love, and then everybody was like, so she's like, okay, I guess I won't say that anymore.
Damn liberal cousin. So Bobby decides you know what? I am going to go stay in Portland for a few months. This is after he has a couple of friends come over dressed as Rocky Horror Picture Show characters. I guess they're going to a showing of Rocky Horror Picture Show. So Frankenfurter and what was the one with the big frizzy hair? The maid one. They come in and the mom's like, your freak friends are downstairs. Why would you flaunt this in our face? So he's like, I got to get out of here. So he goes to Portland. Before he gets on the bus, his mom gives him a parting gift, which is a Bible with his initials engraved on it. Nice. And then he heads off to Portland, where he finds himself. He goes to a gay club. He meets a boy. He dances, nipples out everywhere. And then what was the boy's name? David. David and Bobby start to date.
So then he's been away and he's living this good life, but his whole thing, and this is sort of why he's still the way he is, his whole center of universe is his family was so close to him and his mother was so close to him, is that it's her approval that means everything to him. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't matter if he has a boyfriend or if things are working out well, he's always trying to seek that approval. And so he gets a gift from his mother sent to him in Portland, and it's a brochure.
Well, it's a sweater. And in with the sweater are some brochures.
And the brochure says, AIDS, the wrath of God.
Yes.
Not a very welcoming package.
Of the two gifts, I would prefer the sweater.
I didn't really care for the sweater, but yes, if those are my options.
So he's back home and he's talking to his mom. And he's telling, I met this guy. His name is David. I would really like it if one day you could meet him and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, I won't have a gay son. And he says, then you won't have a son, Ma. If you can't have a gay son, then you're not going to have a son. And she said, that's fine. And that's how they leave it. He ends up moving up to Portland after his mom basically said, you're dead to me. And then to make matters worse for him, David takes Bobby to meet his parents, and his parents are very accepting and loving and caring, and they have a good time. And it just shows him that difference, right. that his parent, he'll never have this with his family and his parents and his mother.
Yeah, and it's at that moment, I think, that I realized that this poor kid had zero mechanism in his life that he was taught at all for processing any emotion that he has.
Mm-hmm.
There's no outlet for him. There's no one for him to talk to about it. No one that will understand his point of view. So to him, there was nowhere to go.
Yeah. So he's at work and he calls David and goes to voicemail. Answering machine. Back then they had answering machine, not really voicemail. And he's like, hey, listen, I just have a lot going on in my head. I need to talk to somebody. I was hoping you were there. So he drives by the gay club and he sees David coming out of the club holding the hand of another boy. And that just sets him off.
Yeah.
His boyfriend is cheating on him. His mother hates him, doesn't want anything to do with him. His family doesn't accept him. So he decides to drive to an overpass, climb over, and fall in front of an 18-wheeler and dies instantly.
Yeah. It's all horribly tragic. There's just this element of doing that to other people, like that is hard for me to swallow. Like the driver of that 18-wheeler didn't need that burden.
Yeah.
And so it was just that's like.
And I think when you're going through something like that, you don't think that far ahead, how that's going to impact people involved
or anyone around you.
And that's what the rest of the movie is. It's the fallout from his suicide. And the cousin calls the house and the sister answers and she starts screaming and calls for her dad, and he takes the phone and then he goes to the mom's job and tells her, Bobby's dead. He killed himself. And I don't know what her job is, but she's like, they have this electric cage gate that she talking to him through, and she's trying to open.
Yeah.
She's like, open the door, my son is dead.
She works in textiles. I wonder if they just don't want people to steal things, so they cage him in.
Maybe. So it's very dramatic, over the top screaming, yelling, and then the thing with it, because we watched this on Hulu. It's on Hulu if y'all want to watch it. And if you have the one without commercial breaks, it just, there's no commercials, but you can see the moments when it ran on Lifetime where the commercials were. So like there's this dramatic moment and then there's like this dark moment and then it pops back up in another scene. So it pops up and each one is kind of, dealing with it in their own way, and it's time for the funeral. So they all go and they're all very somber and trying to process what happens.
It's a horrible funeral.
Yeah. The preacher basically spent the entire funeral talking about if Bobby had just prayed harder and been a stronger person, none of this would have happened.
Yeah, he was a sinner and he was lost and he couldn't deal with it, so he took his own life.
This is a cautionary tale for you all.
So basically, don't do this because he was a sinner and was wrong. Mm-hmm. And David is in the audience. He's in the pews with the cousin. Yeah. And David's like, I can't believe what I'm hearing. Yeah. Which I thought was great and good for him, because right after that, at the services at the house, David walks up to Bobby's parents and introduces himself, and they know right away that was Bobby's boyfriend. Shook hands, put his hand out to shake their hands, and did. And then the mother immediately went to the kitchen and washed her hands like she had sin all over her. To which the cousin went in and actually defended Bobby and David and said, Bobby was a good person, and that funeral
and they had a good relationship, and he deserved better than that.
Yeah, and that was great. Good for all of that. Good for David for going up there and saying something to the parents. Good for the cousin.
Yeah. So the cousin tells before she leaves, because the mom's like, get out. And she's like, I'll leave. I brought Bobby's stuff back. I left it on his bed upstairs.
Which included his diary.
Yeah, which had all of his diary. So after she leaves and the funeral's over, the mom goes upstairs and she's going through the box and she starts to read his diaries. Where I was saying, where you start to see everybody's kind of dealing with this their own way. The mom is in this deep depression. The dad is feeling neglected, like his family is shattered, and he's trying to have some sort of relationship with his wife, and she wants nothing to do with him right now. The brother blames himself for what happened.
I don't feel like we got that moment from him too much. I wanted that moment, and I felt terrible for him. But then when I thought it was coming, it was more like, he didn't even think about what was going to happen to us. Why did he do this? And then the father said, it's not your fault. and I guess like to say like, I know you're blaming yourself and that's why you're reacting this way.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good
I felt
moment.
like the lashing out that he was doing was because he was blaming himself. But I mean, there's plenty of blame to go around. Y'all were shitty to him.
Yeah. So while she's reading the book, the bookmark falls off and she sees that it's for the MCC church. So she goes to the church to try to get answers.
Yeah. She Karen's out a little bit on him. And he's like, listen, if you want to come back and we'll talk, then we'll do that. But you're not going to come in here and be accusatory. Sorry, your son dead.
Yeah.
So she ends up going back to the church and discussing some of the Bible with the Reverend, and he gives her the number to P-Flag. And she ends up going to a meeting with P-Flag after meeting with the head of that chapter, and apparently it worked because she went home and slept with her husband. So.
Yeah, I mean, there was a moment where she broke down at that MCC church where I wrote down that was like a Dear Evan Hansen moment for me. I cried like Quinn. Like I was just so in it. Like,
when she goes back at night when it's raining.
Yeah, she goes back at night and it's raining, and she just yells, "How can God ever forgive me? How can Bobby ever forgive me?"
Yes.
She's like, "I killed my son, and I know it." And it was like just for I can't stand that in movies when parents feel like they've let down their kids, or
I mean, she kind of did.
I mean, she wasn't wrong. Like, yes, but she had no other. She also had no other way. But I mean, but then right after that, there's like they go to city council because
the Reverend wants to have a pride day in the town,
and they go in there and there's like, I mean, I've watched this again. It's like this the parallels. I watched live on TV in Orlando, people arguing whether or not LGBTQ people should be added to the city's discrimination ordinance. And you've got people up there saying the most horrible, disgusting things about gay people, and then people up there defending them. Well, she felt compelled. She had to get up and say something.
Yeah. And this scene, I think, if you haven't seen this movie, and at least if you're on TikTok, this particular speech that she gives at the city council meeting has been all over TikTok for a couple of years.
Watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, or even just watch the clip from the movie, because it's just great. And she just gets up and she talks about how, you know, this is what I told my son, you know, but she admits in it that I knew what I was told about gay people and I didn't do anything to change that. I didn't do anything to find out whether that was factual or not. And that killed her son. And so she says at the end of it, which I think is like great, the contrast between the song in the beginning and this, and I didn't write it down, so I might get it wrong. I don't know if you wrote it down specifically, but it's basically saying when you echo amen in your house or in your congregation, be careful.
Because there's the children are listening.
The children are listening. Yeah. And it was, I mean, I was just so powerful. I thought it was great.
Yeah. All for naught, they voted no on the Pride Day. But instead, they get invited along with the P-Flag chapter to march in the San Francisco Pride March. And the whole family goes, and they're marching, and Sigourney Weaver sees the mom. Not Sigourney Weaver, but the mom sees Bobby sitting off on the side, and she leaves the parade and she goes over there, and you see it's another young gay kid, and she leans up and gives him a hug, you know, thinking, you know, I couldn't save my son, but I will save as many gays
and that
as
was
I
the
can.
Birth of free mom hugs. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't, but it seemed like it.
Yeah, it may have been the early starts. And that's how it ends with the quote. It comes up and it's got the quote.
And then they show pictures of the real people involved, and that always makes me cry even more.
I didn't see who she was, but apparently the real life Mary Griffith was in the parade scene in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to go back and watch it.
So, yeah.
I'll say this about this. Jen saw the preview for it, and so she wouldn't watch the movie. When I watched it while she went to the grocery store. She came back in like the last 10 minutes. She came back at the scene at the MCC church. And from then it was just I look up at her at the end of the movie and she's just red and wet crying. And she's like, my God, I just watched 5 minutes of this movie. And like she gets mad at that because she doesn't want to watch movies that make her cry like that.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny. So what do you give it?
I'll give it 1.5 grapes. I will give the movie 1.5 grapes. I will give Sigourney Weaver 2.5 grapes. I thought she was she was fantastic in this, and I felt like a better script and maybe better supporting actors would have stepped this up a notch. But I mean, it's like you said, it is its own thing. It's a Lifetime movie, and I think that she definitely exceeds above that.
I am an emotional judge, and I saw a lot of myself. I related a lot to it. I'm full on 3 grapes with it. I think it's something that people should watch, regardless of the quality of the writing of the film. I think there's a message here where it's like we can tell people it gets better all we want, but you have to show them that it gets better, because Bobby had no way of processing. There was no way of telling him. He could even see someone else's life is totally different, but there was no relation to his whatsoever. And I think that it's just super important for people to know that there is a way to process emotions, and there are people out there that can help you, and you gotta find it, rather than jump off an overpass. What do you think Rotten Tomatoes was?
I don't know. These made-for-TV movies are hard to tell. I'll say critics gave it an 82 and audiences gave it a 91.
72 critics and 86 audiences.
All right. So
that's fine. I get it. I understand that that I'm rating it high, because I think that people who grew up in the 80s like I did can probably relate a lot to this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you also come into this with a CBS sensibility, so
I don't take that bad at all. So next time we're going to talk about Big Brother, and we're going to talk about the Emmys.
Yes, the Emmys are coming up.
We're going to make fun of the Bears some more.
Just kidding. Because it's going to win a bunch.
I know. I already did.
So until then, we got the cork back in the bottle.